When my kids were younger, I decided one day that I was tired of being their waste bin, and I wasn't going to be their bin any longer. You see, I was the one who cared enough to eat the leftovers on their plate. And if you're a mom, then the concept of leftovers wouldn't be strange to you. Today, I'm going to be showing you the possible relationship between your marriage and leftovers. There's a woman whose husband hasn't seen her in years. Yes, they've shared the same bed. They've eaten dinners together. He has been there for her milestones, but he hasn't seen her in years. The version of her that walks into the boardroom, the version of her that runs the team, that version of her that gets called when something matters. He does not know that woman. She has been bringing a different woman home every single day. Welcome back to the Shift Conversation. I am Oluseye Ashiru, and this is episode 6 of the Shift 9. 9 episodes, 9 fractures, the full diagnostic map of what is actually happening underneath the lives of high-achieving women in leadership. Today's episode is going to ask something specific of the married women in this audience. Not to worry, if that is not you, I still want you to stay with the diagnostic anyway. The pattern that we are going to be naming today applies to any covenant relationship that you have been treating as a separate project from your assignment. You are going to be able to recognize it today. But today we are naming the marriage fracture. And the woman who carries it, the one I'm going to be speaking to directly today, I'm going to call her the divided woman. If you have ever come home from a day where you led powerfully and felt the question rise that you wouldn't say out loud, I want you to stay with me. And this question is, which one of these is the real me? This episode is for you. So let's name the fracture. We're going to be talking about managed versus inhabited. The marriage fracture is the gap between the marriage a woman is in and the marriage she was actually built to inhabit. It's not the gap between a good marriage and a bad one. Many of the women that I'm describing have what the world would call a good marriage. It's the gap between a marriage that is being managed and a marriage that is being inhabited. A managed marriage runs smoothly. Bills are getting paid. The schedules are aligning. The kids are getting picked up. The vacations get booked. An inhabited marriage runs deep. He knows what is actually happening inside of you. You know what is actually happening inside of him. Together, they are building something that requires both of you to be present at home in it. Because a woman can manage a marriage for 20 years and never once inhabit her marriage. This is the part of the diagnostic that is most often missed. Because from the outside, her marriage looks amazing. It looks like the most stable marriage in the room. It is well organized, well resourced, well photographed. It's for the gram. What that marriage is not, in any structural sense, is shared. That marriage is not shared. She's been the executive of the marriage. He's been the executive of his own assignment. They've been running adjacent operations under the same roof. And today we're going to be naming that. Today we're going to be uncovering more about the marriage fracture. So now let's go to the 4 signature markers, because every fracture in the Shift into Legacy Diagnostic framework has 4 signature markers, 4 ways it shows up in the life of the woman who's carrying it. If you've been listening to this series, then you know what we're going to be doing next. You need to listen for which markers register as your own. Don't argue with the ones that land with you. So let's start. Marker 1, her best hours go to her assignment. She's sharpest, most creative, most generous, most strategic in the hours that she's giving to her work. That's when her mind is at its peak. That's when her presence is full. That's when she's most herself. And by the time she walks through the front door, those hours are gone. What walks into her marriage when she walks in the front door is a woman who has already given everything to everyone else. And she comes in with her depleted version, the remainder, the remnant. Her husband has been meeting that leftover, and he has been calling it his wife. Wow. That is marker 1. Her best hours go to her assignment. Her marriage has been built on what is the leftover. Signature marker 2. She's been managing him the way she manages her team. She's an excellent manager, no doubt. In her professional life, she's running people well, briefing them effectively, setting clear expectations, checking in with them efficiently. She resolves conflicts easily. Over the years, without quite realizing when it happened, she has now started to apply the same skill that she's applying in her work to her marriage. She schedules connection. She schedules intimacy, schedules date night into a calendar that already has a lot of things in it. And she's doing it with love, okay? So it's not like she's doing it without love. She's doing it with love. She's doing it competently. But guess what? She's also doing it from a distance. Because management requires a distance to function. A manager must remain slightly outside of the system in order to be able to manage effectively. And so she's been outside her own marriage for years, being the manager of her marriage. That is marker 2. She's been managing the marriage rather than inhabiting it. Marker 3. She's been training him not to need too much. This one is subtle. And it is also the most expensive cost of all of them. Over the years, in 1,000 small moments, she has signaled that it is too much to ask her for anything. The tired sigh when he wants to talk after a hard day. The way she answers urgent messages but takes 2 hours to reply to him. The micro irritation when he interrupts her work. The way she has rebranded his emotional needs as inconveniences. None of those things have been intentional on her part. It's just that they've been invisible to her. But guess what? Now her husband has learned that he can't just be there. He's learned what to bring to her, what to swallow. He's learned to bring only the manageable items and to take the real ones somewhere else or nowhere at all. And she calls this, he's respecting her capacity. No, it is that she's actually created a managed distance between her and her spouse. And she's been doing this for years. That is marker 3. She's been training him not to need too much from her. And guess what? He has actually been learning. Marker 4. She has kept the marriage and the assignment in separate rooms. He doesn't even know what she's building. Not really. He knows the outline, he knows the title, he knows the highlight reel. He has an idea. But he does not know the structural decisions. He does not know the doubts. He does not know what the cost has been for her. Because she hasn't really brought him into any of these things. And it's not because he couldn't understand her. It's not because he couldn't understand her world. It's not because he would not even want to. It's because she's been treating her assignment as something that she does and then treating her marriage as somewhere she goes when the doing is done. The assignment is her vocation. And then she's made her marriage her decompression space, her decompression chamber. He's been there, seen the rooms that she's come back to, but he has not been the partner that she has been building with. That is marker 4. This woman has been keeping her marriage and her assignment in separate rooms. And so those are the 4 markers of the marriage fracture. And I hope that you have been able to see which one of them applies to you. Her best hours go to her assignment. She's been managing him the way she manages her team. She's been training him not to need too much from her. She's been keeping the marriage and the assignment in separate rooms. If any of these 4 landed, or if all of them landed, then I want to invite you to stay with me, because now we're going to be moving into the 5 examination questions of the marriage fracture. Let's get into the 5 examination questions together. Every episode in this series, we always end with the same 5 questions. Show me, cost me, protect me, serve me, and limit me. So come back to these with a notebook. These are not questions to answer in your head. These are questions you write down, you sit with, and you let them do their work in your heart. Question 1, show me. Where does the marriage fracture show up in her life? So show me the dinner where she half listened. Show me the bedtime conversation that never happened. Show me the moment where she could have brought him into the decision and she chose not to. Show me the phone in her hand at 9 p.m., at 10 p.m., 11 p.m. Show me the words he said that she did not register until 2 days later. Show me the moment where her marriage has been getting the leftovers. That is the first question. Where is this fracture currently living in her life? Where is this fracture currently showing up in her life? Question 2, cost me. What has this fracture been costing her? This is where most women want to soften. Don't let yourself soften in this one. A husband who has stopped trying for some of what he used to ask for because she trained him not to. Years of partnership that could have been a building project instead of 2 adjacent operations under the same roof. The intimacy that has thinned, not because either of them stopped loving each other, but because management replaced inhabiting one season at a time. A version of her assignment that he was never invited to be part of. Because, as we say every week here, vague costs produce vague healing. Precise costs produce precise closure. So when you are able to answer this question, you make yourself name what has been actually getting less than was meant for your marriage. In hours, in conversations, in your tenderness, in you. That is question 2. Question 3, protect me. I always invite you to linger on this question in every episode. So we're going to slow down a little bit here, okay? Ask yourself, what has this fracture been protecting you? Because this one has an important answer. Here's the thing about a fracture in a marriage that has been running silently for years. Of course, it's been doing something for you. It's keeping you safe from something specific. What if you brought yourself home, your full self, and then you discovered that he couldn't meet you where you were? What if you tried? What if your husband tried and he could not? What if you let yourself be known by him at the altitude that you're actually operating at? And then you discover that there's a gap between where you are and where he is. So the marriage fracture has actually been keeping the answer to that question theoretical because you haven't really tried to even do it. And to close that gap is going to require you to find out if these things are true or not. You don't have to say the answer out loud. Just know the answers. Because you have to stop pretending that you don't know what the question is. That is question 3. Question 4. Serve me. What has this fracture been serving in you? You have to look at this. Because the image of the woman who does it all without needing your husband, that independence that has become your identity, the self-sufficiency that has become your armor, the version of you that has not had to depend on the marriage to hold you up, that version of you is a self that has been built around not needing him. And you have to close that. And closing it will require you to let that self end. That is question 4. What has a fracture been building in you that closing it will require you to release? Question 5. Limit me. Where is this fracture currently capping you? Where is it limiting you? Because you cannot enter the next room of your assignment with a marriage that is running on fumes. You have to actually stop and fix this. You cannot build your legacy that you're building without a partner who has been let into the structural work. You cannot become who you were designed to become if your closest covenant is being managed at arm's length. The ceiling that you have right now has a name. For this divided woman, the ceiling is the gap between the woman she is in the world and the woman she is at home. And until you're able to close that fracture, that gap, the next level of your assignment cannot truly land for you. And this is not because you lack capacity. It's not because you lack the desire to do it. It's because the next level requires you to be one woman. That is question 5. The marriage fracture does not close because you go to therapy. Therapy can help, of course. Many of the women I work with are in it. It's good work. It is not by itself structural closure. The fracture closes when you stop bringing home the version of yourself that has already been spent. It closes when you stop managing him and let yourself be known by him. It closes when you begin to bring your assignment into the marriage instead of treating your assignment as a separate project that happens somewhere else. You were designed to build, and you were not designed to build alone. You were designed to build with your spouse. If today's episode landed for you, then here is your next step. We have the free fracture audits available on our website at shiftintolegacy.com/audit, where you're able to locate which of the 9 fractures is really costing you right now. And it takes only a few minutes. That is the entry point. And then we are enrolling into the Shift Intensive right now. It's 4 weeks and it's a live diagnostic cohort. And you can access it at shiftintolegacy.com/shiftintensive. And we are here to give you the full diagnostic ecosystem on our Shift Intensive program. Next week on the Shift Conversation, we're moving into episode 7 of the Shift 9. And we're going to be looking at the generational fracture. You don't want to miss that. Until then, name what you can see, count what you can name, and close what you can count. My name is Oluseye Ashiru, and this was the Shift Conversation. And I will see you in the next episode.